Ask someone what food Chicago is famous for.
The hot dogs, deep dish pizza.
But there's a problem. Two foods can't explain why Chicago is considered one of America's greatest food cities. The thing is, most visitors never leave downtown. They never find Devon Avenue, or Greektown, or Pilsen. Would you like some spicy pickled chicken feet or just regular chicken feet? So we spent the day eating through 6 neighborhoods that help shape what Chicago eats today, to figure out whether those neighborhoods are the real story behind Chicago's food reputation. This is not what I expected for a breakfast in Chicago. Expected fancy brunch, and we got that. This breakfast plate was only $2. When we were in downtown Chicago, we paid literally $13 for an egg sandwich, and this is a full meal. So we're at Gorib Naraz, which is a locally loved, cheap, no-frills, quick grab-and-go desi food place. And they have an amazing breakfast special of omelet, paratha, which is like that really thin fried bread, some cucumber yogurt, and I think spicy sauce. And there's no forks involved. There's literally only spoons available. I guess the bread is like your fork. So I think how you do it, you can come at me in the comments if this is wrong. Bread, omelet, yogurt? This is just so different than what I was expecting for breakfast. And spicy?
Yeah.
Is it spicy? It looks spicy.
I think it's really spicy.
So just a little bit. Is that what you usually eat for breakfast here? Oh, there's a spice.
I told you it was spicy.
Okay. That is like the perfect, like chewy but a little bit crispy bread. It's an omelet. You've had a good omelet. Everyone loves one for breakfast. And it's like actually really fresh with the spice. It's like literally so much flavor for $2. You really just can't go wrong with that.
Do I eat the stem?
Oh no. Brought the cheers. Well, that felt like breakfast we'd eat somewhere like India. If non-pizza isn't a Chicago mashup, I don't know what is. And that's kind of the point, because we're spending the morning eating our way through West Devon Avenue, which is one of North America's largest South Asian communities. People travel here specifically because this street blends the cultures and flavors of India, Bangladesh, and Pakistan all in one street, like a Pakistani bakery. I don't know what anything is, so I'm just gonna pick something that looks cool. We asked for the bestsellers. Oh, I like a bestseller. What's happening? Apparently this is it. Apparently this. If you're staying downtown Chicago, you could probably spend $20 and get a muffin. But here you can spend a couple bucks and get this for your breakfast sweet. This is gulab jamun. What's like your guys' favorite?
Oh, so mine is gulab jamun. Gulab jamun.
Jamun.
Yeah, great.
Which is essentially like a little syrup-soaked sweet donut hole. Oh my gosh, whoa, look at that. There's syrup, and then there's that. Like, oh, I was worried it was gonna be like, I need to go to the dentist sweet because that, but it's actually got this really nice hint of cardamom, and it's not too sweet, and the texture is really almost like gelatinous but chewy. It's hard to describe, but I actually really, really like it.
This thing has so much syrup that you can literally slurp it out of the pastry.
Kayla's gonna have a sugar high today. And then I called this barfi, and I was quickly corrected that it's burfi.
Okay.
Barfi?
Yeah, burfi.
Burfi, not barfi.
Yeah.
Burfi, not barfi. Which is literally milk that's cooked overnight, so it gets like more condensed and hard, and then they add sugar in the morning, and that's burfi inside a gulab jamun. Because everybody loves these two things apparently. This one's all milk, so I think this one's all me, because Caleb can't have milk.
It's like crumbly.
It's like if you took your cream that you put in your coffee in the morning, and then just condensed it and like gave it like a little bit of a crunch, almost like a Rice Krispie. I don't know how that happens, and it reminds me of something, and I don't know what it is. What is that flavor? That I can't put my like brain on it? Something, I don't know. No, it's like, it's got, I need to think of it. Cream? Well, I can't think of the flavor, but it's very familiar to me. It's really good. I really like it. Well, this is already changing the way we think about Chicago. And if this is just our first lesson, I think we have a lot more to learn about the city's food scene. So now we venture down a little closer to city center, and we're in one of Chicago's most historic Eastern European villages, the Ukrainian district. And for lunch, we are at Chocolade, a very simple cafe that feels very classy, but also very homey. I have Ukrainian roots, and this feels like I'm going back to my grandma's house. And what feels more like grandma is borscht. I grew up on this. It is one of the most iconic, famous Ukrainian foods, and it's just a simple beet soup. It looks like nothing, but it's so perfectly seasoned. And the best combination about borscht is it's a little bit sweet and earthy, but also a little bit tangy, and so satisfying. So now we got two versions of vareniki, which are like Ukrainian pierogi. So we got a savory, meaty filled, and because we love ourselves, we added butter, fried onion, and it also comes with the side of sour cream.
Wait, where's the food?
That is a little meaty pillow of deliciousness. The dough is chewy, the meat is perfectly seasoned, and then it's doused in butter. So obviously, you know it is delicious. For our little dessert, we got something that I actually grew up eating, and I'm so excited to see it on the menu. Blueberry vareniki. So literally the same dough, dumplings with blueberry. They also serve it with, I think it's a sweet sour cream, and then you put icing sugar on top. Oh, my grandma's not watching this because those are like
better?
They're kind of better. No, they're literally so perfect. It's like, for me, this is nostalgia. It's literally like 3 ingredients, and it's like the perfect way to end your meal. Well, if Devon Street showed us how global Chicago can be, the Ukrainian Village shows us how it got that way. Neighborhoods like this were built by immigrant communities who came to the States looking for opportunity, and then wanted to create communities where they could preserve their culture, food, and heritage. And in many of those instances, those influences came from Eastern Europe. At this point, we're starting to see a pattern. The foods that built Chicago didn't just appear, they came with the people who settled here. But next, we're going to tour the neighborhoods that helped shape and define Chicago's food culture for generations. So now we're in Greektown.
Oh, it's right behind you too.
That was invented right here in Chicago, the flaming sagnaki cheese. Greek sagnaki, the fried cheese, is a Greek food, but Chicago and America is credited with having the whole pour the brandy on top, light it on fire, shout upa, and upa, opa.
Opa.
Wow. And then serve it at your table.
Good. Enjoy.
Flaming cheese.
Thank you. You gonna try this thing?
I mean, it's literally cheating alcohol on fire. Like, it's gonna be great. Ooh, it's gooey. Check that out. It's like a lemony grilled cheese sandwich.
Your mouth's not on fire?
It's actually not. It's just, I mean, you saw it's literally fried cheese, booze. It's ooey, it's gooey, it's got a crispy shell. It's delicious. Perfect for your lactose intolerance. I got so distracted by flaming cheese, I forgot to tell you we are at Greek Islands, which is one of the most iconic Greek taverns in Greektown. They are bringing some serious vibes with the white walls, blue shutters, and they serve the most traditional Greek cuisine, such as the dolmades, which is a grape leaf stuffed with meat and rice. And this one, I've never seen it before, has like a creamy lemon sauce on top. It is absolutely stuffed with meat and rice.
Are you a fan of the sauce?
I am, because it adds this really creamy, zingy flavor to the meat that's just like a little bit more cozy and spice. But that kind of balances it all out. If you would have told me I've been like loving a leaf in my mouth, I wouldn't have believed you. But that's fantastic. Now we got koto souvli, which is literally just pork on a spit with onions and tzatziki, the traditional yogurty cucumber sauce.
It's just all meat.
It's literally a plate of meat and onions, which is basically my dream. All right, I got some tzatziki. I think souvlaki is like the perfect example of Greek cuisine. It's just a few like very simple flavors done perfectly. That yogurt is tangy, the meat is smoky and crispy. It's the kind of bite you want to go back for.
We tried to leave, and then they brought this. I don't think I can do it.
Eat it. Eat it.
I don't want to. This is the biggest, tallest baklava I've literally ever seen in my life. Feels threatening. It's nuts, it's below, and it's covered in honey. I guess this is kind of like the Greek version of the gulab, whatever it was this morning that we had. I've had a lot of baklava in my life. Usually it is like extremely sweet. That actually isn't. It's more just like a little bit of sweet, very crispy pastry, and then some really nice cinnamony nuts. If I wasn't so full, I think it would taste even better. But it is fantastic for the level of fullness that my stomach is at. At this point, we're starting to see how immigrant communities help build Chicago's food scene. But Greektown takes that one step further. When there was the Chicago fire, Greek immigrants came in large numbers to help with labor, but they also helped build the restaurant scene that Chicago would eventually become famous for. Well, that felt like the first neighborhood where we really started to see Chicago's food identity take shape. And those are the kind of places we love to help you find, because the mission of our channel is to help you eat like a local and avoid the tourist traps. So if that's your vibe, hit subscribe. But now we're heading to one of the most influential neighborhoods of the whole day. If an Italian flag colored fire hydrant doesn't scream we're in Little Italy, I don't know what does. This is Pompeii, one of the most iconic Italian restaurants in Little Italy, and they are known for their strudel, which is kind of like a stromboli pizza stuffed in bread. Pompeii has been family owned since 1909, and it's living proof that Italian immigrants didn't just build a neighborhood here, they built businesses that have lasted generations. But back to that strudel. To me, a strudel is something sweet, but here, it's this. Stromboli, strudel, whatever you call it. Crispy, crunchy dough. This one is Italian beef with peppers, cheese, and a little bit of marinara sauce. So it's kind of like inside-out pizza. So you dip it in the marinara and put it in your face.
Is that a new way to pizza?
It is a new way to pizza, and it's also a new way to Italian sandwich. We had both, and we love them, but it's literally the fillings of an Italian sandwich with the exact pizza crust, and then you have marinara sauce. It's actually fantastic. This might be the way to pizza. Welcome to Chicago's Little Italy. Chicago was once one of the fastest growing cities in North America, so a lot of Italian immigrants came here looking for work and opportunity. But the food here didn't just stay in the neighborhood. It went on to create some of the most iconic Chicago foods, like pizza and Italian beef. If Little Italy was Chicago's past, the next stop, Chinatown, might be its future.
I don't think that made sense.
Welcome to Chinatown. Many of the neighborhoods that we visited today were shaped by earlier waves of immigration, but Chinatown tells us a different story. Chicago's Chinatown is one of the oldest and most vibrant Chinese communities in America. But unlike many historic neighborhoods that feel frozen in time, this one is still growing and shaping what the city eats today. Would you like some spicy pickled chicken feet or just regular chicken feet?
No. I don't know what this is, but it's spongy.
You always hate when I poke things, but you're allowed to
So
poke things.
I'm gonna get one.
What is this? Why am I getting this? This is Shuquan Bakery, a traditional Chinese bakery that still somehow feels like a place that locals will come despite being in a really busy, touristy neighborhood. So we got a couple things to try. They're most famous for their barbecue pork bun, so we'll start there. We're actually going to China very soon. So I'm actually really curious how this is gonna compare. It literally just feels like a hamburger bun. I just got a bun. What is it with stuff and bread? Like, it's literally always the best.
Always.
The bun is like a soft cloud. It's like kind of sweet, but the meat is the real star. It's like sweet, it's savory, it punches you in the face with five spice. And for $2, like,
But is it actually meat?
I mean, it is $2. Should we maybe not think about that?
Cold, lardy meat.
It's delicious.
Actually delicious. Yep. I can eat a lot of this. Next.
So we got a mooncake, which is extremely beautiful. I didn't really know what it was, so we Googled it. It's a rich traditional Chinese pastry that you eat for the Moon Festival, and it's filled with like red bean and salted duck yolk egg.
Could be delicious.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Is it better than the bun?
I love that. Like, we walked in, Caleb was like, we have to get something red bean. I was like, I hate red bean. This is so good. It's like nutty, it's like salty, it's sweet, It's chewy and the crust is crispy. This honestly is actually the most shocking thing we've had today. Like I genuinely, and now I'm excited to go to China and eat red bean, which I never thought I'd say.
I don't know about red beans.
They're the one that made us get it.
I don't know. You know what it tastes like?
I'm about to.
Like it tastes like uncooked cake batter.
I'm not getting that, but as long as you like it.
Whatever. That's what it tastes like. Is it a bouncy ball? Or is it pastry? Oh, look how squishy that is. This is shocking. First I got like, it was sweet, a little bit gummy, and it almost tastes like pancake batter. I'm on this batter kick. I don't know what's happening, but pancake batter. But sweet and good, but strange. Try some.
No pancake batter. I just get banana and a little bit of red bean and some chewiness that sticks in my mouth that I don't love.
It's pancake batter.
It's banana.
You're bananas.
Wow. Sick burn. At this point, we're starting to see how Chicago became such a great food city. Every neighborhood has added something different to the story, but we still have one more neighborhood to check out. This is Pilsen, Chicago's historic Mexican-American neighborhood, and one of the most celebrated Mexican food destinations in the country that continues to shape the city's food scene. Because if we learned anything about Chicago today, is that its food city didn't end with the neighborhoods that built it. It's a story that's still being written. Unlike some of the other neighborhoods today, walking through Pilsen feels colorful, vibrant, and alive. Like I said, colorful, vibrant, and alive. I think this is a classic mariachi song. It's the only one I've ever heard. And I'm hoping this dancing makes a little room for a taco.
Taco, taco, taco time.
Okay, so this is Five Rabanitos, which is kind of a favorite place for modern Mexican cuisine. And we each got our own taco, just one because I'm literally about to explode. Shrimp tacos. It's very pretty, and then I think they make their own salsa just by the looks of it.
I think the whole taco needs covered.
Really, really runny. Okay, that might be a lot. There's no going back now. That is the perfect amount of spice in that salsa. It is literally so fresh with your radish and your lettuce. And man, those shrimp, they nailed them. They are so perfect. They hit you in the face with cumin, and the tortilla is soft. That's what you want in a good taco.
So I was choosing between al pastor and barbacoa, and she said definitely go with al pastor, so that's what I got. And I'm just gonna try it by itself. No spicy sauce covering it up.
Taco purist.
Just the meat. It's almost like pork belly, but in like this like amazing spicy Mexican sauce. Like, you chose wrong.
I didn't make the wrong choice.
Yeah, Taylor definitely made the wrong choice.
We came to Chicago trying to understand why it became such a great food city. And we thought we'd find it in one single dish. Instead, we found it in the neighborhoods. Each community added something different. And together, they created one of the most diverse food cities in all of America. But we've understood why Chicago became such a great food city. But now we gotta go back to the question everybody asks. What pizza in Chicago is worth it right here?